big move on Friday. Actually, this move started on Thursday, right? What was it? We're moving up as we've been doing for the last month or so, or a few weeks. Then they came out with the China. We went from 261 and change to 264. Had the quick pullback, but closed strong. Good follow through on Friday. Got extended. This is a big move. You just look at the size of the move from Thursday and Friday from below 260 to 267. Big move, weakness globally. So some catch up in terms of us gapping down here with the rest of the globe weak. Same thing as the last 3 or 4 gap downs, which we had a bunch of lower gaps in the last 2 weeks. Just all of them have been bought. And so the cool thing is, the more we run up, the easier it is to judge, at least on a one-day basis, if there's a change in pattern. When we do get that change in pattern, there's a good chance the market will have a pretty strong downtrend day. So we just look at Friday's action. Right on the open, I guess, we were at 265, held below 264s, broke through, and went almost straight up to 267. Had a decent sized pull in the afternoon to 265 and a half or so. And in the after hours, we were right back up at the high. So with this morning's gap down, we seem like we're poised to test Friday morning support. We actually already did that around 6 o'clock this morning and got bid up to 265. So what does something different look like? Let's say we open and we fail here, we do this, and then we take out that support from Friday. That would be different. That would set us up potentially for, high was 267. So there's really nothing in terms of support, I guess, until 262. It would set us for a move to here. We extend like kind of the trend to here. It would break the most recent uptrend, and then we'd kind of see. I mean, that would be ideal. The burden is definitely on the sellers to prove they can do that. But if we had something like that, like a pullback into this area here, and tomorrow we made a lower high, maybe we get a retest of the 258 to 260 or something like that. The reverse would be we come into pre-market low, Friday's support here, we flush into it, we support there, and we just start to grind higher. We close somewhere above 250, 265, 70 or so, and this just becomes another consolidation before the next leg higher. I imagine people are thinking about this right here. We almost got there on Friday. IWM. So IWM is actually even stronger in the SPYs. So we touched the high from December 7th, it looks like, on Friday. Above 147.80. Okay, so December 4th, 154 to, this was the big day, 147. So I imagine IWM is below 147 right now. We start to get some closes in this 147 area up here. I'm going to break to the upside. We'll be looking at a move to 152 plus. It's quite the move off the bottom, $20 off the low. It was like wide consolidation after the low, big up move, tight consolidation trend, and buyers very much still in control. I guess when I put my alerts in this morning, I put them down closer to 145, but just looking at it, this was the 145 where we failed Wednesday. We held above it on Thursday, then we held 146 on Friday. Yeah, I mean, anything close to 145 today, like if the market's held, this is where I'd be looking to see if we get some support. Tuesday, we flushed into 145, buying the 147 calls for Friday wouldn't be the worst idea. Selling them, maybe the 150s against them. $144 would be almost a $4 move off the high. That would. And I'm looking into 145, like 145 and a quarter, 145.30, which is $1 below where we are right now to buy. But we could actually get all the way down to here, maybe tomorrow. That would be even better. We broke through that on Wednesday. We tested it, held. We opened below it on Thursday, ripped right back above it into 45. So I can even look at the queue. So we got a lot. So this is going to be a really busy week. Things started to get rolling with Netflix on Thursday. You know, I put a bunch of stuff on the sheet this morning. I don't really love anything. Probably a couple of them will end up being pretty good. I'm going to try to let you guys know. So every day, you know, we're covering 3 to 5 in-play names. I'm going to try to really emphasize, especially for the newer guys who aren't used to the morning meetings and picking up on these things. But if something comes along like a triple BY again, where, you know, we had the long bias on it, and I feel really strongly about it, I'm really going to emphasize that for you. If I have a strong long bias or strong short bias, remember the majority of times things will gap into areas where there's support, there's resistance, and we'll see kind of how strong a move it makes right on the open to see if it can break through key support or resistance for trends for the day. And that's generally the case. So let's start with EDU. EDU automatically gets the suspicion because it's a Chinese name. We just never know with those, with the numbers and everything, when they might come in and find out they've been faking the numbers for years. But it's been around for a long time. I've traded it for many years. It can be tricky sometimes. You can see it had a big uptrend from 2016 to 2018, from $20 all the way up to above 100, where it double topped. Came in hard with the Chinese market over the last year. And now, if we kind of look at it, I guess you could call it a leader there, similar to, you know, not obviously Bob is the largest company there, but it's a sector leader. And it had a nice run up off the kind of double low here of 50, 51. Coming into earnings, it was bought, and now it's gapping up. Looks like they're on the conference call now, or that's what my platform screen is telling me. It's color coded. Okay, so just coming into earnings. September, October, failed here at 80, made a lower high 76. Tried. You can see on the way down, it just kept on trying to bounce, and it kept on failing, making a series of lower highs. And here, it looked like it was going to break this downtrend. Did not. Got a retest with the U.S. markets at the low, then turned around with the U.S. market. So they beat revenue 3%. They got it up 3 to 5. So what I liked about this one was they beat on the rev 3%, but the guidance they gave, for next quarter, they raised by 3 to 5, meaning perhaps things are actually accelerating there. So that's good. The only thing we have to take into consideration is, it's actually, this pricing reminds me of Square a little bit, SQ, which we've been in since 50. This had a similar bounce to Square from like around 50 to around 70. Square's in the low 70s. But it's a 40% move off the low. It's a big move. It has a catalyst now. If we go back to the beginning of October when the market started selling off, it was at 73. So there is some upside there. But our R2 is 73 on the sheet. Sold off hard on October 2nd. And the gap below 70 and went straight down. So it's almost back to 70 in the pre-market. Let's zoom in. So on the London Open, this went from 66 to 68. We're just going to have to see on the Open what happens here at this kind of 70 area. But on the sheet, I've got 72, 73 as resistance. I don't have any real support until here. I do think if it drops into, it was bought in front of earnings, 65, 67. I guess I'd have 65 on the sheet as well. I mean, ideally, it would flush right on the Open to this area here. We'd see it catch a bid, start to hold above 68 and trade on the long side. The only other trade, if it's holding above $70 and you want to trade it to R1, R2, that's the other thing. It's also, it could be pretty liquid today. Normally trades about 1.4 million, but just looking at days that it's done heavy volume, it does 4 or 5 million. Even on back in October on a big gap down day, it did over almost 10 million shares. It's going to be pretty liquid. Ideally, this would be the spot that I would be, if I was looking to buy it for a move to the low 70s, this would be my area I'd be looking to buy it. And a quick flush on the Open. Good risk reward. Halliburton. So I put this one on here, not because something caught my attention, I thought it would be great, but I thought this would be an easy one in terms of risk for anyone listening to this to trade. It's very liquid. It did have strong EPS and a small beat on revenue. It was accumulated into earnings. You can see trended, and they bought it for about a week, around 30, right above $30. It looks like it maybe, did it print down there, or is that just a bad, let's say. Yeah, it didn't print down there. That's just a late print probably from, maybe they did actually let it. So you can see where it was accumulated coming into earnings. Let's see how far it is off the low. So this one flushed down to 25. It was in a big downtrend with oil, right? So oil went from whatever, it went from 70 down to 45. We had a nice bounce in oil. It bounced with oil in the market. And it looks pretty good here. Moved to 33. Closed strong today and actually had some follow through over the next few days. Sold off from $34 in mid-November. Let's zoom in. So we've been seeing this pattern. We saw with financials last week or the week before, where they kind of bought them into earnings, and initially they showed some weakness, and then they just got scooped right up. We're, I guess, starting to see this a little bit already with Halliburton. It was down at 31 just a few minutes ago. So now they're starting to buy it already. It's above Friday's low. Oh, I guess they're on the conference call right now. That's Sherp guy saying something. Worse, if it's holding Friday's low, you want to be long it. It's 31.30. It's very little risk. Don't even have to risk more than a nickel. And if it consolidates in this 32 area and breaks to the upside, it's 32.5, 33 is what I gave for the range for the resistance. But again, it's a very slow mover. You never really have to risk more than 10 cents in it, other than maybe right on the Open. And I would just stick with the trend. If it takes out Friday's high, and then fails to hold above it, certainly a candidate to reverse. But there's nothing in the numbers that indicated that should happen, but it's on the conference call right now. It's still negative. MDWD is a thin stock. I put it on here because the phase 3 results looked really, I mean, were unbelievably good. It's already been sold. It was at $6 earlier. So it's already done over 600,000 shares. It normally trades 100,000. I suppose it's going to create a few million shares today. So here's the long term on it. So when it IPO'd, it was up here at 20, came off hard to 10. It's worth keeping an eye on because of just has been in this range for a long time. Now they come up with a drug meeting its primary endpoint, approval, and perhaps this is the beginning of it kind of gapping up and working its way back towards here or higher. So ARNC, they're no longer for sale. I thought that what really caught my attention was just looking at the chart on it. It looks like this, well, you know what? I don't want to jump to any conclusions, but it did have this big move here on January 2nd. Oh, okay. So they rejected Apollo's offer of $22 a share. Let's see something. And it's kind of interesting. So they rejected a $22 per share takeover offer from Apollo, which is a legit private equity firm. They do a lot of big takeovers. And it's gapping below 15. I would think people would step in and do some bottom fishing here. There's no technical support, so. Oh, shit. All right, so yeah, great. So it's already bounced from 15 to 16 and a half. Yeah, so I still think, look, I still think it could bounce more. But you know, this is just one of those examples. If I wasn't doing the meeting with you guys, I'd be looking to see if it could bounce off 15. Perhaps some of you are along it already. So yeah, they really started to just aggressively buy it here. Maybe it's because Favor said something on CNBC about the amount of the takeover offer. Maybe that wasn't publicly known. Maybe that story I just saw that they rejected a 22 offer just came out, and that was the catalyst for this. But it's going to be in play today. Perhaps it works its way all the way back up to, well, let's go to the 30-minute. Yeah, I mean, perhaps it works its way up to already this like 1740, 1750 right here. The board's got to be in a strong position to reject an offer up here in the stock. So definitely going to be in play. Normally does 5 million. Might end up being the best stock today. So we'll see. Wasn't really expecting a lot of it until, you know, now with the volume coming in the pre-market, it's already kind of bounced to our R2. Let's see what happens there. Pets is a beaten down stock. Apparently they no longer have growth. Here's the multi-year, just so you can kind of see what happens with this one. I'm not gonna even talk about the second days and the technicals because it's getting late already. So Pets was just kind of moving along. It exploded from 20 to the high 50s. It's erased that move. Growth seems to be gone. It's gapping below 20. So it's a question of, now that it's kind of back down to this area where the big move started from a couple years ago, is that enough of a down move? Or now that the growth is gone, are people actually gonna sell it below 20? So we should find out in the first hour or so. I could go either way on this one. It wasn't, obvious in terms of when you looked at the numbers, it's still trading at a decent multiple, even with the gap down to 20 with no growth. And I'm sorry, to J&J, I thought J&J they didn't have any. Nope, they reported. That's not good. They had news on Friday too, I thought. Yeah. So J&J supported, just eyeballing this the last 2 weeks, that was bought at 127.70. And I can't tell, is it really printing there? No, it's right at 127.70 right now. So that's the spot. I would say if it can't actually start to hold above 128, basically fails here, and starts to hold below, that's not good. I mean, basically, people spend a week buying it in front of earnings right at this level. On the other hand, if it's holding above 128, it's fine. It sold off hard from 145. This was the baby, all the bad news, right? The baby powder and everything. So you could be looking at a retest of 125, 123 if it doesn't hold here.